every little detail that
has to be perfect. And it's a mix of what we know and everything we can't understand. It's part science, part religion.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I am getting sleep. I've been sleeping. It's good.
I've got to give credit to Universal. You cannot achieve this at the Four Seasons.
Yes. They did an incredible job. I believe we look like we are in a couple of, or we are in a field together, which is really great.
It's crazy. I mean, it's a fucking truck. Anyway, the movie.
Yeah.
So I want to do some spoiler things with you. One of the things that I think is so good about the film and sets the tone is right at the beginning, Daisy loses her boyfriend in the first act. And I think it sets the stage for anything can happen in this movie.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why it's so important or why it was important to show that at the beginning?
Yeah, I wanted it to feel like that. I wanted it to feel like anything could happen in this movie. And also for us to really feel her shock, Kate's shock of what happens in her life, her experimentation. Like, she's like a kid in that opening section. And I tried to film them to all feel very naive, the way that they talk and act with each other. So when that happens, that we're really ripped out of childhood into adult life. She's suddenly on a subway commuting to work.
Yeah, talk a little bit about filming the sequence with the bridge and everything that happens. How much, for a sequence like that, how long did you actually figure it out? How did you want the characters to go, et cetera?
Yeah, that one, there were a lot of logistics in that. I wanted like a 2-lane highway type of look for that, and that's really hard to find. Janice Polly, our locations person, was incredible in finding that specific road, but it meant that we could only film there like 1 or 2 days. And then we had to do that post-destruction moment where she's walking through the destruction. So what we decided to do is build a copy of that overpass on this like backlot area in a giant parking lot. So all of the close-up work of them climbing up the overpass ramp, that's all happening on this backlot. But them running to it, her afterwards, all of that was happening on the day, and a huge storm was coming in on that day, and we had to stop right at lunchtime because this storm was coming in. So I got a great shot of them running to it. It was windy, them starting that initial climb. We headed out, and then we found out that a tornado actually dropped from the storm that went through. So that was fascinating, but the skies were incredible. When Daisy's walking with all that destruction around her, those are real storm clouds that are coming in, but in our film, of course, we're playing as though they're heading out.
I loved that Daisy and Glen don't kiss in the movie. They have such tension, sexual tension between them. And it's funny because like at the 2 screenings I've been to, that's something that everyone talks about. Oh my God, I needed them to kiss. You know, so talk a little bit about the decision to actually not have them kiss in the movie, because most movies, they would.
Yeah, I filmed both versions, to be honest. I had a kiss version, I had a non-kiss version, and I did find, I have to say, I like both versions, and there were many arguments to be made to have them kiss. I think my niece, my 13-year-old niece, is very mad at me that I didn't have them kiss because she saw that version, and she loved that. But I just felt like it feels to me that Kate's journey and the reward at the end for her should not be a kiss, but that it's really, she's found companionship, she's found community again, and she's also come back to her sense of purpose, which is chasing these storms. So a storm is coming in, and those two together decide to go out to chase that storm. And I love that ending. So many apologies to my niece and other people.
I think there's probably a few million women that are going to be a little mad, but that's okay. You know?
Yeah.
Can I ask, where the sequence you filmed where they do kiss, was it in the airport or was it another place?
It was in the Will Rogers Airport. They were so nice to us to let us use that space. It's a very busy area. And I chose that spot because the glass goes all the way up, and conceivably you could stand there and see storms coming in, and that's what Daisy's doing at the end there. But it was interesting. There were actual commuters on the right side of frame that were framing out who were getting into the gate. Security was right there, and those people at Will Rogers, really, shout out to them.
Eventually this film will be released on Blu-ray. Will you include the deleted scene of them kissing, or is it one of these things where you don't want to include it?
I decided to withhold that one. Yeah, I put in some other deleted scenes, but that one I decided to withhold. Yeah, I'd rather people imagine that.
can I ask what were some of the other scenes that you are cut out that will be on the Blu-ray? Are they like significant scenes, or are they like sort of like little bits?
They're just little bits. Some moments, like I have a moment of Daisy and Glen together having a slightly more romantic moment that I took out. No kiss, so yeah, sorry for that. And then just a funny moment with Brandon Perea that I thought was really great. And then Anthony greeting Daisy at the airport when Daisy arrives into Oklahoma. I have a scene there that I cut.
Talk a little bit about how you decided on the final shot, very ending of the movie. Was it always that ending? Did you ever have something else?
So that entire moment, that entire airport sequence was what I put into my pitch when I pitched to do this film. Because I wanted the stories of Kate and Tyler, Kate and Javi and Tyler to all come to a conclusion. And I felt like that was something that wasn't in the ending, and that's something that producers and people were telling me they'd like to see more of an ending. So I just kind of whipped that together and presented it, and they said, go for it.
One of the things about Twister, the first one, is that it stood the test of time. People still love this movie. What do you think it is about the original film that has caused so many people to love it?
It is so unabashedly what it is. I know that sounds weird. It's a very circular thing to say. It is very singular. I don't know of many other stories like it in which you have just this group of scientists who are somehow action heroes who are chasing together. They're really good friends. They love steak and eggs. And they're chasing tornadoes, which is also a crazy phenomenon that we human beings live with on this earth. It mixes this strange tonal comedy with action, adventure, and also serious destruction and devastation. And speaks a lot to us as people in that way. I mean, that's what makes it special for me and what I loved about trying to do in my own way with this film.
So you find out you get this gig. What are you watching before you start filming to sort of like take notes on, be like, this worked great in this film. This worked great in this film. I love the way this was shot. You know, to try to sort of, you know, like not steal, but like, I don't know what the right word is, but, you know, be influenced by.
Yeah, there were a lot of those. First of all, story-wise, I did a lot of older Hollywood films. I loved, like, Howard Hawks. Howard Hawks was a huge influence on this, just in terms of what happens with the characters. Spielberg was a giant influence for me. I watched Jaws again. I watched War of the Worlds was really big. Jurassic Park. So that was important. And then, of course, Jan de Bont. You know, I really had to pay respect to what he does and what he did with the first one, so I studied that quite a lot. But what ended up being really important was watching driving movies. Like, I had never really done too much driving stuff within my work. So I just took, I really loved going back to Gone in 60 Seconds. And that one, I just love seeing what they did. And all I could say is energy. Like, that scene is just so full of energy. And that's what I kept on studying for this one.
One of the things is when you can have a script and you can have a cast, but then when you get on set and you see the actors inhabiting the character, it can impact the film, because you might be like, this person is nailing it. We need to get them more scenes. And I'm just curious, which, if any, of the characters ended up with more screen time than you expected just because of the way they were on set?
I had a version of this story where Harry Hadden-Paton's character, Ben, leaves after that tornado that strikes town after, like, the third tornado, before the rodeo sequence. He was just going to stay behind. This is what he's going to do, and he says goodbye to Kate. I was watching what he was doing, and the studio was watching what he was doing, and the studio asked me, is there any version of this where you can just keep him throughout the entire film? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I just kept him and definitely wanted to integrate him into the entire story.